Welcome back. We thank you so much for staying with us here on SA Today. Let's go back to one of the top stories of the day. Freedom under law says today's sentencing on the Mdluli matter is an important vindication of law. Richard Mdluli and co-accused Mthembeni Mthunzi have each been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment in the High Court in Johannesburg. For more on this now, we're joined via Zoom by Nicole Fritz from Freedom under Law. She's the CEO there. Very good afternoon to you, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming through here on the SABC News channel. So this matter has been going for some time now. Are you happy and satisfied with what transpired today?
Well, we believe that today's sentencing is an important vindication of the rule of law, and that a senior police officer is being made to be held accountable for some of the crimes that he has committed. And given that state capture years were not only about various high-level people perpetrating crimes and wrongdoing, but actually sort of paralyzing our criminal justice agencies in order to ensure that there was no accountability for those who enjoyed these very powerful positions. I think today's sentencing means an end to the type of impunity that we did see and which so characterized this. And in that sense, it is an important vindication of the rule of law.
All right, so let's just go back to when this issue started, because we know that at some point the matter was, the charges were dropped by the NPA. Talk to us about the involvement of Freedom under Law in this entire case.
So that's right. So as far back as kind of 2012, Freedom under Law, in fact, brought an application seeking a review of the decision of the National Prosecuting Authority to withdraw the charges against Richard Mdluli, the charges that are the subject of the case for which sentencing was concluded today, which were charges of kidnapping, assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, intimidation, but then also charges relating to corruption and fraud, crime intelligence slash fund perpetrated allegedly by Richard Mdluli when he was head of crime intelligence, police crime intelligence. And as I said, that application was launched 8 years ago. We received a judgment in 2014 upholding its review, setting aside the decision of the National Prosecuting Authority to withdraw those charges and requiring them, in fact, to reinstate those charges. And you know, the conviction and sentencing today, and then the fact that Richard Mdluli will be appearing in the Pretoria High Court in November to face the charges relating to fraud and corruption, are a culmination of those interventions on the part of Full to ensure that those charges were reinstated and that he was prosecuted.
All right, but again, what message does or will today's sentencing send to those who occupy higher position and who think that they can abuse their power?
Well, hopefully, the message of today's ruling is that, you know, no one, no matter the seniority of the position that they may have occupied, is untouchable. That impunity, even if it runs out, and that they must, you know, face justice, face courts of law, and will be held accountable and will suffer the penalties of their wrongdoing. And so, you know, that hopefully is the message of today's sentencing.
And what role will you be playing in his other case? Of course, as we said, that he'll be appearing in court again in November, facing different charges that of corruption as well. So what role will Freedom under Law be playing in that particular one?
Well, the powers to investigate and prosecute, the role and powers of the criminal justice agency are generally those of the state and are best played by the state. It is the National Prosecuting Authority which will be prosecuting him in November, and today's sentencing is a culmination by the National Prosecuting Authority. We will be watching what happens in November's during the trial in November. But I think it's a relief to us, and it should be a relief to all South Africans, that the National Prosecuting Authority is playing the role that it is required to play, that it must prosecute without fear or favor. And I think that, what we're seeing now, hopefully, is a very different National Prosecuting Authority from the National Prosecuting Authority that we saw several years ago, when, under the likes of Mthembeni Mthunzi and Sean Abrahams, it essentially was paralyzed. It did not take the decisions it needed to prosecute those who enjoyed powerful positions, who were, kind of central cogs in the state capture machinery. And so we will be watching and monitoring. And our hope is that the National Prosecuting Authority will be performing its role in the interest of all South Africans to ensure that persons, no matter their positions, no matter the power, if they have done wrong, if they have committed crime, that they will be brought to justice and will need to face the law.
But again, what does this in particular say about civil society organizations, civil society groups and watchdogs, and the influence that they may have in the affairs of the country?
Well, I think what you saw, these prosecutions, the prosecution and sentencing, I think ultimately would not have happened but for the intervention of Freedom under law. Because, as I've indicated, there was a decision in 2020 to withdraw those charges. The fact that, a court has convicted and sentenced, obviously, makes it clear that decision to withdraw those charges was not a well-established, was not a well-founded decision, and that we were correct in seeking a review of that decision. But civil society, over the course of the last couple of years, civil society, a vigilant media, has provided a stopgap when our state, in fact, and our state agencies and institutions have been missing in action. But civil society, a vigilant media, they can't, perform that role indefinitely. They have very limited resources, skills, and ultimately one has to be able to hope that hope that what we are now seeing is a state that is intent on reforming itself, on ensuring that its institutions, in fact, are capable of making these decisions independently without fear or favor, that it doesn't require the intervention of civil society to get it to do the right thing, so that it can function effectively and function in the interest of all South Africans.
All right, that's where we leave it for today. We thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
All right, Nicole Fritz is the CEO at Freedom Under Law, giving response, of course, to the sentencing of the former crimes intelligence boss, Richard Mdluli.